thank you a lot, Diego. Muchas gracias para este programa. Thank you very much. And you're listening to the World Portrait Cafe, broadcasting from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And it was so exciting to have a poet call in from India. We've had Nepal, we've had, not India, but Italy. We've had Nepal, India, and a whole bunch of different African countries. So this was a first for us. So probably next month we'll have an artist and poet calling in from Portugal. So that should be really interesting. So we're going to go on. Oh, did you want to say a few words about the music for a minute there, Diego?
Yes, I wanted to mention this is a song by famous cantautore Lucio Dalla from Bologna, and the song is Caruso. The reason I chose it is because in Sandro Pecchiari's poetry, he's going back and forth between the past and the present, and filtering it through other languages and also other rewritings. And this is in the Caruso song. There is this man singing the song, remembering his arrival in North America, and now he's back in Italy, and he is seeing his experience, his life there through the eyes of the present. So he's filtering it back and forth between present and past, just like Sandro's poetry.
Nice.
I thought it was appropriate to play it. Sandro Pecchiari is a good friend of mine, whom I met in Trieste during my show, the exhibit that I had of my poetry in Trieste last year. He was born in Trieste, where he now resides, of course. He graduated in foreign languages and literature with a thesis on the poetry of Ted Hughes. He has published 3 books with the Italian publisher Samuele, Editore, Anni Verdi, o Verdi Anni, dovrei dire, in 2012, Le Svelte Radici in 2013, L'imperfezione del diluvio, An Unrehearsed Flood, to complete the trilogy in 2015. His books were presented on television as well, and some of his works have been read at the International Poetry Festival in New York City in 2014.
Hello?
Some of his writings have been translated into English, Albanian, Slovenian, Spanish, and French. He is a member of the Festival of Literature and Poetry in Duino, in Trieste, and collaborates with the magazine Traduzioni Tradizioni and the magazine L'Almanacco del Ramo d'Oro. A 4th book has just been published, Scripta non manet, dealing with the rethinking of the past and rewriting it. And at this point, I would like to then welcome you to the World Poetry, Sandro Pecchiari. Sandro, sei lì?
Ciao Sandro, ciao Diego, buonasera, buon pomeriggio, a dire la verità, ma noi è sera.
Sì,
sono contento di sentirti, si sente bene e quindi riusciremo a parlare.
Benissimo, benissimo, senti, I have noticed, parlo in parte in inglese, in parte in italiano, quindi tu mi riesci a seguire, no? Ecco, dunque, we have, the two of us have something in common, maybe more than one thing in common. We both speak 2 languages or more. We write in both English and Italian. We both have translated other poets, and we have translated ourselves in the process.
Yeah, we have. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So now, apart from that, the thing we don't have in common is that you're young, and that you are handsome.
Well.
That you're handsome, and
well, not that young after all, and not that handsome.
Well, I don't know. You look young anyhow.
Well, I mean, come on. You're just a little bit older, but I mean, not much.
Yeah. I'll wait for you when you get here. Now, can I get into some of your poetry? Can I ask you a few questions?
Of course.
Buonasera.
This is Ariadne.
Sorry, Ariadne.
Oh, yes, Arianna. Pleased meeting you. I mean, it's nice to hear you.
Oh, thank you. Mucho gusto. Grazie. I don't speak Italian much, a little bit.
Okay, I mean, it's a difficult language after all. I mean,
I'd love to learn. I speak Spanish, but not Italian much.
Yes, you can follow. I mean, if you speak Italian slowly, it's in a way understandable from Spanish speakers. I mean, it's in a way possible.
Well,
not as easy.
I know when I'm hearing Italian around, like in a mall or something, I can usually pick up about 70% of what they're saying. But
that's
speaking is another. So back to Diego, it's very nice to talk to you, and welcome to the World Poetry Cafe.
So, allora,
it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure for me to be with you,
Sandro. I will ask you the next question in English, okay?
Okay.
Which will sound Italian to you, but eventually will move into English. E nella tua poesia sembri cercare di rimarginare una ferita segreta che ancora sanguina. Lo fai attraverso, adesso inglese, the mystic chords of memory. And yet, ultimately, poetry is mythology, the telling of the soul's passage through the layers of events in time in your history. Stanley Kunitz has said, I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was, though some principle of being abides from which I struggle not to stray. How can you identify yourself in these verses of Kunitz? Ti puoi vedere in questi versi?
I would say that they're very similar. There is a very good feeling and similarity in feeling. My four books have this sort of, let's say, detachment or removal of, trying to get over this initial wound. And my collection started with a real loss of a person that I loved so much. And but then, this very strange experience started, because after this first book, which was really a way of recovering somehow, then it was a sort of a recover from places and from all the people, and all the suffering that you have in everyday life, for instance, and how to get over this, and then the question of how to get a sort of a healing about this was trying to consider the nature of communication. Especially when I went to Canada, and I was in Canada for a long time, I noticed that communicating was, in a way, difficult, because besides the language, which was okay, but the proxemics, the body language, the way of the feelings of people were in a way different. So you had to decode them. So you were both or either communicating and not communicating. And this was something that made me, in a way, wonder how well and how deep I could get into sharing emotions with people. And so that was the main let's say the main purpose for my research of writing.
Yes.
And so that's I think the most important thing. And then, of course, something else came into the poetry, into my poetry, and it got a little more complex than that.
Posso farti una seguente domanda? Per chi scrivi? For whom do you write?
Well, I'm trying to totally get rid of this alternation, ping-ponging of you and I, which has been, the characteristic of the last century in a way. Imagining a you to whom you could talk or you could address, So, I mean, anyway, I did not get rid completely of this, let's say, imaginary you. But, I mean, in my last part of writing, this you has to be focused every time. It's not a real you. It's not always the same you, but it could be anything. It could be even your inner voice. So, I mean, the reader... tell me.
No, because I was thinking there is the you now and the you then. Are you speaking to your you in the past?
Yes, it could be. It's a sort of let's say it's a sort of a stream of consciousness that happens with you, with remembrances, with dreams or plans, for instance, but also with imaginary people I talk to, or even real people I talk to. So there is no not a possible definition of the you in my let's say in my latest book. This is what I try to do. I mean, to make it unreadable in a way and not definable.
In the Imperfezione del Diluvio, the unrehearsed flood, you are basically going from one skin into another. You're pouring your poetry from one skin into another, linguistic skin, obviously. Ci puoi dire se ti sentivi in qualche forma che l'italiano, il tuo italiano o il tuo inglese erano vicendevolmente contaminati l'uno dall'altro?
Sì, questo te lo dico in italiano?
Sì,
o in inglese?
In italiano, sì.
Ok, allora è stato interessante perché il passaggio dopo il secondo libro era che dovevo mettere in crisi un attimino il rapporto con la lingua, dopo aver messo in crisi il rapporto di comunicazione, no? E quindi ho detto ok, sì, è stato Alessandro, sai, questo Alessandro che è il mio publisher della Samuele Editore, che mi ha in qualche modo sfidato dicendo potresti tradurti questa cosa, e ho pensato, mamma mia, come farò a tradurre me stesso, per scoprire che effettivamente le due lingue, ma io credo che tra qualsiasi lingua c'è un tipo di emozione diversa, di cultura, di background diverso, quindi la traduzione non può essere mai assolutamente letterale, soprattutto in poesia, ma va ricreata nell'ambito della sfera culturale della lingua. Naturalmente, quindi le poesie sono state ricreate in inglese. La cosa buffa è stato che ho dovuto mettermi una deadline, perché le soluzioni che avevo trovato in inglese erano così soddisfacenti che venivano a condizionare l'italiano, quindi modificavo a volte le poesie italiane che a volte rimodificavano la poesia in inglese.
Ti capisco benissimo.
Continuo.
Ti capisco benissimo. Perché è successo la stessa cosa a me.
Io credo che questo capiti quando appunto uno si autotraduce. Sai, perché pensavo che tu dai la versione, you have the final version of the poem, but then if you translate, all the other versions, the ones that you discarded, come back and say, well, give me one more chance. So they all come back, and you have to, let's say, refresh them somehow. So you have to take them into consideration again and lull them again and say, okay, I'm going to give you another chance, and why not? So this is really a nice thing to do.
So now I tell you, I'm going to give you a chance to let us hear you read some of your poetry. Your choice.
Did you didn't choose something for me? No,
I wanted you to. Well, I have one poem that I could read in English, and you could read the Italian.
Yeah.
Would it be all right? From the Imperfezione del Diluvio.
Okay,
a pagina 36.
Sì.
I can read the English, and you can read the Italian. I presume the English is the translated version, right?
Yeah.
It's not the original.
Not the original.
Okay.
But sometimes started in English. Some of the poems were written in English. That was the first version, so I had to translate them into Italian.
Yes.
This is funny. It's like that.
Well, sometimes the turn of the phrase in English is so beautiful that you cannot find an equivalent in Italian, and vice versa.
That's absolutely desperation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So let me read it.
Okay. Of course.
I can't go before you go, witness of a life stuffed with chemo. You shall die here inside me, in my arms, telling the spare beads of the night. But I am losing count if I'm watching you, and with your hands I trespass the nun time that binds an unrehearsed flood.
Non poter andarmene prima che tu vada, testimone di una vita ingozzata di chemioterapia. Dovrai morirmi qui dentro, tra le braccia, sgranando i secondi rimasti della notte. Ma perdo il conto se ti guardo e varco assieme alle tue mani il non tempo che allaccia l'imperfezione del diluvio. And this was the poem that gave the title of the whole.
And I found it very moving. I found it very moving, this poem, really.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Would you like to read some? No, dimmi.
Yes, I have something that I love so much, which is the poem at page 51, which is, let's say, before talking about exile that we experienced very well. This was the one before, in which I just face the possibility of going away and being different. And shall I read it in Italian?
Yes, which one? What page? What page is it?
It's page 51. It's number 18.
51. Okay, hold on. Yes, I have it. Okay.
Okay.
Which would you like to read, Italian or English?
I will. You read Italian. Let's make it right. You read Italian.
All right. Are we show-offs? Aren't we show-offs?
Yeah.
Show off that we can switch back and forth, huh?
That would be very nice.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll let you read the English first.
Okay. All right then. Waiting behind the trucks, flung against the face of the horizon, widened under the wheel rumble. I'd like to have the blazing fire of a journey storming the cardinal points. Measuring memories in miles, I untangled my voice twang over the asphalt of other places. I am emptied of the spots I used to know.
Attendo dietro ai camion scoccati in faccia agli orizzonti, aperto al fragore delle ruote. Vorrei il fuoco libero d'un viaggio che scateni i punti cardinali. Misurando la memoria in miglia, dipanano la cadenza della voce sull'asfalto di altri luoghi. Io sono privo dei posti che conosco.
Qua in realtà c'è molto da... Ho trovato moltissime delle tue poesie, soprattutto nel libro del 2014, che aveva lo stesso feeling effettivamente.
Sì.
Quindi stavo pensando ad esempio a Dying to Live, ad esempio,
sì.
Che appunto I try to rehearse my life over all these decades, che siamo veramente in grossa sintonia in queste poesie. Bene, meno male.
Senti, you have moved progressively from a pouring of a soul in search of itself to an attempt to find yourself by filtering your emotions through another language, bilingual edition, to a rewriting of some of your previous works. Ora, in che senso ti ha aiutato questo processo di travaso linguistico dei tuoi travagli esistenziali? How has this process of decanting your existential angst helped you?
Well, I mean, after the experience of this double version, which was in the third book, the Intersezione del Diluvio and Rehearsed Flood, after this coming to terms with two different languages and two different feelings, I had to go and I had to dig deeper in a way. So how deep could I get? The only thing to do was get into the texts and have the faith and courage and boldness of saying, I'm going to rewrite them. How different am I? And is my feeling, my emotion changed? Has my feeling and emotion changed throughout these years? And this was also, Alessandro's fault, because he told me, your books are sold out. And I say, well, why don't we print them again? Say, no, I want to ask you if you can rewrite. So choose 11 poems from each book and add 11 new poems. So I said, wow, this is going to be very nice. And then it turned out to be dreadful, because it was really difficult to come to terms with poems which were still valid, but my style and language and emotion had changed. So it was really a fight and a challenge, and it was very interesting. I really loved doing it.
I found it very challenging to follow your translations and your moods, and how your approach and your view of your past changed.
Yes.
And this is why,
absolutely.
I don't know if you realize why I chose to play the song Caruso by Lucio Dalla.
Absolutely, yes, yes, absolutely that. Yes, it's very interesting. There was, in the preface that Giovanna Rosadini wrote on this book, she said that this is an act of, in a way, of courage, because if you can find new shapes and new ways of objectifying reality, also the past reality, then you have to come to terms with the dregs and the remains and the ruins. And this is a way of course, correcting this vision, modifying this vision, but also giving yourself a new birth, which is very important. This is something that happened. And so, it was sort of, getting pregnant of myself, and then, trying to deliver myself, which was not so comfortable. But anyway.
You did a marvelous job, I can tell you that.
Okay.
Now, listen,
much.
before we forget, because we're coming to the last 5 minutes here, where can your listeners purchase your books?
Oh, yes, you simply have, either you go to Amazon, or the simplest thing is go to the Samuele Editore site, which is www.samueleeditore.it.
Okay. But evidently we can rely on our new god, Amazon, to deliver anything.
Yes, I think so. I am a troglodyte. I don't use this because it doesn't seem to work with me. I don't know. Anybody can buy train tickets, whatever, and I can't make it. I'm hopeless.
Okay, but
anyway,
at least we know. Listen, let me move on in another direction now. Okay.
Yeah.
You have written a long poem entitled Kidhood, which is a neologism, not childhood, but kidhood.
No, it was kidhood.
And what does it mean to you? Can you explain if the poems have served? The poem has served to exorcise some of your secret demons. Se ha servito a esorcizzare I tuoi demoni segreti, che tutti abbiamo in diversi modi.
Yeah, well, this was something that I had almost forgotten, because I wrote it 1 year ago, and then Alessandro invited me in this experience with NEMLA, which is run by Simona Wright, which is the Northeast Modern Language Association in Washington, D.C., and they are turning 50 in 2019. So they're going to have a new volume because the main theme of the convention will be the transnational spaces, intersection of culture, languages, and people. And we have been invited in a section which is called 8 Poets from Italy Who Write in English. So I dug out this, which I have written 1 year ago, and this was really perhaps the answer to all the 4 books. Mm-hmm. I never used Italian. It came out in English, directly in English. I don't even think I will translate it into Italian because I think it's impossible.
Yes.
And that was really reliving my childhood. The funny thing with kidhood is, as I explained, Al Rempo, who wrote the review for Nembla and to introduce my work. Al Rempo lives in British Columbia. He lives in Fort George. So he lives in your province, and we're friends. And I really love his poems. He's a powerful one, and so he really found out that this rebuilding of the past, especially the years immediately after the Second World War, in which everything was in a way starting again with dreams and whatever, is a way to come back to the sentence that you told me in the beginning. It was a way to really get over and get healed from the wounds of the past and from a childhood. And I think it's a good answer. This kidhood is something nice because kidhood is something that comes, it's sort of a pun, which comes from a Venetian dialect from the province, because kid is capretto and little kid in English, but capretto, when I was small, I remember that we had goats and sheep and whatever, and we used to cut the hair, to shear them, and also the name of kids are called tosatelli, which means the clipped one. So I thought it was a very nice overlapping of the 2 languages. As Al Rempo told me that, if somebody writes in a second language, he has a little more freedom. He can be a little more creative because he gets the language. He finds that there are short circuits between the 2 languages, yes. Which is what I did in a way. It was very nice and very fun to do. A
very revealing poem. I can assure you of that. Now we are approaching what Victor here is showing me with passing his finger by my throat, indicating that if I don't stop, he will cut me off. But I wanted to remind all the listeners that you are calling from your home city, your native city of Trieste. And Trieste is in the northeast corner of Italy. It is the last city in Italy before you hit Slovenia. And then eventually Croatia and so on. So this is on the border, really. It's a beautiful city. I call it the beautiful lady. She's an old lady with a certain stately look.
Absolutely. She's so nice and so elegant, and she's a little weathered, let's say.
How is she? Niente bora?
No. We're having a very warm late summer.
Lucky
really
you.
Wonderful.
Senti, allora,
I know.
Sandro, io allora ti mando un grande abbraccio, un saluto, e sperando che la prossima volta che ci vediamo sarà il caffè degli specchi.
Assolutamente, sì, assolutamente. E ci faremo un meraviglioso capo in B.
Ecco, allora I am sending a big hug to Sandro Pecchiari. our poet guest today. And I said that I hope that the next time we speak to each other will be in person again in the Café degli Specchi, which is a marvelous cafe in a piazza which is the largest piazza in Italy facing the sea.
Yes, facing the sea. Absolutely. So I'm thanking you, and I'm thanking Ariane for being here with me and hosting me. It was a pleasure to be with you tonight. And okay, let's hope to meet in Trieste, before long.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody.
Ciao, ciao Sandro.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao, ciao. Ciao, buonanotte. Ciao.
Buonanotte.